everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. I am Justin, and this is
Derek or Dren, and
The Little Things, aka HC in Newall.
HC. Explain to me your name.
It's just the little things. It's just
Yeah,
about the
but
little things.
I don't get it. It's too small for me.
it's just a little bit over your head, Justin.
I don't know. Dren here should understand. It might not be too small for him to grasp.
Yeah,
I understand.
He can take some big things.
Big things, little things. We love all the things here.
Some huge concepts. All right, well,
All right.
Derek, HC, how you doing?
I'm doing.
Good. It's Wednesday again.
Yes, we did this last week.
We're not kicking you out, HC. It's a lot of fun every time you're here, and I, for one, would like to continue that. So as long as Justin doesn't kick you out,
can't lie to me.
Y'all ganging up.
I'm not lying.
Should have never said anything.
But yet you said everything.
I'm just trying to be considerate of your plate.
So what all are you working on then? Yes, you. I know what Justin's working on. He's working on editing podcasts, and I'm working on lining up people to talk to. So,
well, I have a job, and I'm working overtime this week, so that takes up a lot of my time. And then I'm finishing my third book. I'm almost finished, so I'm dealing with that. And then I'm also doing a read along this week, or starting next week on August 7th. So trying to get people into that, and marketing, keeping the hype, and I have to work out. I work out for an hour every day, and it sucks. You know, it is what it is. So I have a lot of stuff going on. And now I have to read 2 chapters. But I did that in 30 minutes because I already know what's going on in the chapters. So it literally doesn't take me any time at all. I only reread it so I can remember what's going on, because every time we do these, I think things happen that aren't happening because I'm getting all of it jumbled up in my head from all the different chapters, because I thought we were going to get a new character in chapter 7.
We didn't.
We didn't. So I was way off.
No,
that's okay.
I forgot what I was going to say.
They actually get the opposite of a new character.
Yeah, subtraction. addition by subtraction in some cases. What do you, if you don't mind, HC, what is your day job?
I'm a medical coder. So I look at medical charts, and I just make sure that everything is right so that it can go to the billing department, and I can send you out bills for the things you've had done.
Exciting.
Yeah, I work from home. This is my work office.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I could not work from home. I don't, yeah. I'd go insane just staying at home.
Well, I don't have any friends, and I don't have any kids, and my family lives 5 hours away, so I ain't got nothing to do outside. So I'm good.
Fair enough.
I live in my little bubble with all of my internet friends.
It's not a bad way to go.
Oh. It's working out for me, I guess.
You're here with us.
We're internet friends.
Nah.
It's because you're exiting, isn't it?
Because you're pushing me out.
I
refuse.
Nowhere.
I refuse.
I refuse to go.
No, Giddy.
Well, you kicked me out of your store. So.
Listen, I gave you permission to be Avalok, but you have to speak Elvish.
Who?
Avalok.
Who's that?
I think that's our mystery elf.
HC. You committed the number one cardinal sin.
Listen, I already messed it up for y'all when I told y'all that those were the swords.
Just more shit I gotta edit out.
I'm gonna keep sprinkling that throughout the video.
From the little cards that come with the collector's edition, it does kind of give that away, but which are really cool, by the way.
See, I'm not reading the edition because I want them to be nice.
What'd you just say? Just
me? Yeah.
Yes.
I said I don't read them. I don't read the collector's edition.
Oh, I thought you said I'm not getting the collector's edition because I want it to be nice. I was like, dang. Ooh. Ouch.
No, he really is trying to kick you off. He's trying to make you so mad you just leave on your own.
Excuse me.
I'm about ready to exit, y'all.
Okay, I'm sorry. What were you asking me? How do I say his name?
Yeah.
Avalok.
Oh, because when I read it, I thought it was Avelik.
Avalok. There's a
That was just
pronunciation guide.
It's in the
Yeah.
it's in the front of the book, Derek.
He tried calling me out. Justin did.
I did.
For not- He did. He said, "You don't have this word in the pronunciation guide." He flipped to it. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you do."
What word was that?
Tell him.
Travaran.
Close enough. He doesn't even know what you're talking about.
That's
I
how
don't
it's
remember
pronounced in the
calling
book.
it.
Travaran.
Travaron.
Travaron.
It's like right on the tip of my tongue.
Or
I'm
in a
trying to
deep-
think back.
It is the ointment stuff that they used to heal the mystery elf.
You mean Avalok?
Oh, Avelic.
Well, see, his name, I actually stole the name from The Witcher because I absolutely love this name. But in The Witcher, it is spelled AVALLAC apostrophe H. And it looks like avalanche.
Mm.
So I had to change it because people said that it was way too close to that Avalok spelling, but people still know how to pronounce it anyway. It's all right. I love it.
Fair enough.
It's called Locky, or as other characters call him, Applecock. You can only guess who says
All right.
that.
Your husband?
I bet it's me.
What?
Or fucking Lorik. I bet Lorik says it. That would be my guess.
I was like, guess which character? And you said my husband.
Okay, well, I mean, never mind. Okay, cool. Just come
Justin, you got a
back.
lot of shit in your ears tonight. I don't know what the deal is.
Maybe it's your mic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, it's too small though. I need a bigger mic.
It's the little things. Come on, we enjoy the little things.
Oh, full circle.
And here we go. Now we can start our chapter 7 summary.
All right.
No, we can't even do that yet, Justin.
Yeah. Come
Oh
on.
yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Go ahead. It's only been a week since I've done this. Like, clearly don't
I'm
remember.
really waiting forward to
I'm a
load now.
distraction.
Just as usual here, before we get started, we'll shout out to Silverstone's Books. Great website. Justin, I don't know what you're waiting on. I've ordered like 3 times from them.
How
Got
do
a
you know I
huge
haven't
selection
ordered?
of... Because you would have told me.
Maybe I did.
I would
Just
hope.
didn't want to tell you.
You asshole. Big selection of fantasy, sci-fi, horror books, a lot of signed copies. I know I try to find signed copies if I can. Doesn't always work out that way though. And we do have a promo code for 10% off, which is DJ Quest. And I will let you know, we did have somebody use that code this morning, August 2nd, 2023. Our new friend Mick from Fantasy Files podcast, in Australia, no less, used this code. So, American friends, we got beat by the Australians again. It must have been a swimming competition because they always kick our ass there. But he ordered some books and used our code, so that was kind of cool. And he tagged us on Twitter about it and Silverstones. So I figured I'd give him a little shout out. And along with that, sometime in the next couple weeks, don't have a definite time frame yet, but Mick invited us on to his YouTube channel to talk about Dead House Gates. What we'll talk about there, I don't know yet, but we'll figure that out.
Hell yeah. And on to our patrons. In order of subscription, we've got Jan, the picker of pies, Luciana and Tregan, Ryan, the topological, Damien, the rock of faces, Niddle, Nate, what the fuck? Nate, Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, and then Quartermaster, Master Sergeant, Lieutenant Parker. So thank you all again for your amazing contribution. We wouldn't be where we are without you.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Are you writing down my fuck up, HC?
I'm getting ready to keep score.
Oh, you're funny. Derek's like, what, 0 for 3?
I don't even know.
You know? He's undefeated. He screws up less than I, and that's just because he summarizes less words.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think he has very many of the words, and then most of the words are already said in your section before he gets to his.
Yeah, so I should get a handicap. Right.
Go second.
All right.
Justin, I don't make the rules on this here. This is what we decided. You made the bed, shit in it, I guess. So
Yeah,
I don't think that's how that saying works, but
I think it's you made the bed, you lie in it.
Nah.
Tomato. If that's fine, you can do what you want in your own bed. I don't care.
Just don't do it in my bed.
Fair enough.
Well,
All right.
should we hear Justin fuck up some more words, or HC? Are you going to do the epigraph here?
He could try it first.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
not
I'll
in
go
the,
in because I've been
it's not in the-
practicing how to say this.
it's not in the pronunciation guide, so these don't count.
Sure. No, I'm not going to count these against you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
That's what she says. She lies.
Yeah, she's got her pen ready. It's
Well,
cool.
you
It's
can
all right.
see it.
I'll just jump in. Whatever. I'm not afraid to lay in the shit that I made. All right, chapter 7. Elec Galea. Lanathes Moiroin Varkadad. The humans shall be our doom. Sayings of the Evae.
That's decent.
How is it actually said?
Elet Glea, Lanathes, Moinorin, Farkad. The humans shall be our doom. Sayings of the Evae.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I think I'm like screwed up the middle word, but the first two were pretty legit.
Yeah. You got Lanathes, right?
Sweet.
Which is good because you're going to
Yeah,
see a lot in this book. And Evae, too.
That was good. I wouldn't, especially the name of the chapter. I would have butchered that. So hats off to you.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
All right. Here's chapter 7, the summary. Mud and grass tore from the soil as Gil sped through the village. The shadowy canine snapped at his legs.
Hurry.
Near demanded while slicing her blade through a lunging canine's jaw. It fell to the ground and splashed in the mud. Near shouted at Gil and warned him to move quicker. He came to a stop at a house along the outskirts of the village. Near leapt from Gil's back. She turned to face the dogs when a flash of light was seen. Gil had transformed into a giant mammoth and started to sweep the dogs away. Lork could be heard calling out to Near. She raced to his side, and with a heave, the door slid open. They slipped inside with the elf, and the Gil transformed into a raven and dove into the house behind them. The dogs charged forward, and with a hard push, Lork and Near slammed the door shut. The dogs raged and clawed from the outside. She closed her eyes and fought with all her strength on keeping the door closed. A strong arm hovered next to hers, and she knew it wasn't Lork's.
We need something.
She grunted and hoped for anything that could barricade the door. Gil said to her that he was working on it and to hang on. Gil was working on trying to light the room. He was using his flint and sparking small pockets of light to find something within the room.
Hang on.
Lork exclaimed as he rummaged through his stolen satchel. His footsteps pattered against the ground before a light tapping sound was heard. The room illuminated a yellow hue with the gemstone in his hand gleamed with light. The light grew brighter, revealing his face and chest. He walked through the small room and came to a thick stone dresser. He called out to Gil and asked him to move the stone dresser. Gil transformed into a large boar and pushed the stone dresser in front of the door. Near exhaled a sigh of relief and her arms fell to her sides. Smiling, she compliments Lork on his genius. Lork is proud of himself for five-finger discounting the satchel from the caves. He gave Near a look that only could only be interpreted as, I told you so. Gil asked who the stranger was. Near glanced at the stranger as he disappeared across the room and sat against the wall. She snatched the gem from Lork's grasp and raced to the elf's side.
I don't know, but he's badly injured.
Gil mixed herbs in the mortar and said that he wasn't a Nyx. Near said that she knew he wasn't a Nyx, but thought that he was from Nindira. Lork added that.
Looks a lot like a Ryman, don't you think? Got the same angry look about him. Even near death, he's just...
He trailed off to say that the elves from the forest always gave him the creeps. Near harshly told him to fuck off. Lork apologized and said that he knew she had a soft spot for the elves after Ryman raised her. Gil scooped the paste from the mortar and instructed that the elves' blades be taken away. Near retrieved the dual short swords. Near examined the beauty of the swords, even in their worn state. Gil could be heard telling the elf that this would hurt a bit, but it would patch him up as good as new. The elf remained silent and his eyes were closed. Near didn't have time to explain to Gil that he didn't understand their language. The elf winced in pain as Gil coated the salve into the elf's deepest wounds. Near understood the pain of Travarin. God damn it. She had, she had been subjected to it once. She watched in astonishment and fear as the elf struggled without unveiling a hellish scream. She took the elf's shoulder and looked into his eyes. In broken Elvish, she assured him that he was okay and doing good. His strong muscles tensed as he gripped her forearms. As the wound healed, he released his grip and became limp against the wall. Gil tells them to keep those swords hidden, as we wouldn't want him waking up and slicing them to bits.
Great. Enemies outside and in here.
Gil tells them to be quiet, and the less noise they make, the better. Lork makes a comment about Gil and Nier talking all night. Gil scoffed at him, and Lork, with a sour huff, folded his arms and sat in a dark corner across the room. Nier carefully applied a gentler ointment to the elf's minor wounds. She has a conversation of admiration with herself, but loud enough for the mystery elf to hear. She tells him that they don't have to be enemies, and coexistence isn't always a bad thing. She glanced at him and was shocked to find that his angry eyes were glaring at her. Feeling disappointed, she turned away and closed her eyes.
Elet Glea.
She said in Elvish, and shifted her gaze to meet his. He turned away, leaning against the wall. He closed his eyes and attempted to get comfortable. She gathered her things, and with another look, she said in his language that he was welcome. She carried the light as she walked across the room. When Nier sat next to Lork, he is heard whining that they were all going to be Nick's meat. Nier breathed deeply and then removed her boots. Gil gave her some food before tossing the satchel to Lork, who, like a dumbass, dropped it and spilled his dinner all over the floor. Gil explained where the food came from, and it wasn't as good as what they'd find at home. And he explains that he was going to get some rest, and it would be wise for one of them to stay up and keep watch.
Keep that snoring to a minimum, Gil. I won't have you blasting a warning signal to everyone around.
Gil snarled angrily before curling in a corner and closing his eyes. Within seconds, he was out like a light. Nier watched him for a second before turning her gaze to the shadow where the stranger lay alone. Lork asks if the stranger would cause trouble. Nier said no. Lork asked what the elf was doing here. Nier responded and said that she didn't know, and maybe he was living here or potentially passing through. Lork is heard saying that it was a good thing she found him. Nier looked at Lork as he raked his fingers through his hair. She ends up staring just a bit too long at him.
What are you thinking about?
Caught. She blinked her eyes and her thoughts away. She replied that it was nothing important. Lork tells her to spill it. Nier chuckled and explained that she was thinking about how they first met. She asked if he remembered it. Lork tells her that he can't forget. He was singing in the sword and sheath while Nier waited tables. She turned away, recalling her first nights with Lork before she was introduced to the Brotherhood, and learned that they weren't just rebellious monsters the Order made them out to be. She was 14 when Lork saved her from Madame Tilly at the Penis and Vagina, Sword and Sheath brothel. Many horrible things happened to her at the famed establishment. I can't look at y'all. Things that many people would never know about. Lork was the first man to treat her with respect since she'd lost her family. And on top of that, he was the first to accept her despite her magical blood. Lork admits that he was being a creep and says that he'd been watching her every day.
My life has been one cesspit after another. I can't keep living this way, running and hiding. I'm so damn tired, Lorik. I just want to feel peace for once before it's all over.
You can feel peace, Nier. Just give up your magic. Live like a normal woman. Settle down. Get married and have a family.
Nier laughed sourly and told him that it's every woman's dream to live for her husband and children, never knowing her own worth or how big the world truly is. Lork said that he didn't mean it like that. Nier interrupts and said that life wasn't meant for her. Lork sighed and said that he knows that, and it was just he didn't want to lose his best friend. On top of that, all his ballads would just go to shit. Lork assures her that she'll be fine once she removes this curse. Lork got sad and was speechless. He tells her that he knows what this is all about. Nier tells him that he doesn't know what he's talking about. His eyes bore into hers. She did know, but she would never admit it. Saying it aloud was even more dangerous than being a sorcerer. She'd never say, but somehow he knew, and she could see it in his eyes. Lork tells her that she's not doing this alone. And what could she really do to stop him? She smiled and said that if it keeps him alive, Lork tells her that she owes him one for busting her out of that brothel.
You really want to come with me? It's dangerous, Lorik. We could both die.
What's life if you don't got friends to share it with? If you go, then I do too. We're in this together. Always have been.
Nier explained that if he goes and falls behind, it'll be on him to catch up. She reiterated after a witty remark from Lork that she was serious and she can't watch over him. She tells him to get some sleep as it'll be a long journey to the trials. Nier sat awake with her thoughts, worrying over what would come from these mysterious trials and if the path she chose was truly the right one. Gripping her brand on her arm, she wondered if the Order would find her here, if they were the reason behind the vicious attacks and the battered elf across the room. Then she knew who to blame. Winds battered hard against the home, and she exhaled a deep breath as her thoughts were interrupted. Cold air seeped through the walls while hissing and growling were heard all around. A crash shook the far side and Nier gasped. Her body tensed for a moment before she calmed herself and released the grip on her sword. Her eyes moved between the elf and the door as she sat through the long and desperate night, waiting for a morning that never seemed to come. A lot of people at the Sword and Sheath did, though.
All right, Justin. It's enough of you today.
Bye.
Bye.
Kick me out. I kick you out.
Just kicked him off his own show.
I'm taking over now.
D and HC's Epic Quest.
Just HCs. I'm just taking it all.
Kick both of us off. All right. We are not
Good luck.
winning.
I have a question about Gil. I don't remember if we talked about this last time. But when he transforms into an animal, does he have to transform back into his normal self before he transforms into another animal, or can he go from one to another seamlessly?
He can just go from one to another. Their magic's pretty powerful.
I wasn't sure, and I couldn't quite tell from the book, or at least it wasn't clear to me.
Yeah. Well, I do have a really soft magic system. I don't really go into like detail about how things work. But yeah, the Drellids, they're really, really powerful. They can turn into basically any living creature that exists on that world. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of magic to do that. Like you saw, he turned into a huge mammoth, then he turned into a raven, then he turned into a boar. So like he can go from one to another to another. The only thing that really is their downfall is that Drellids are kind of born, and I think this is explained maybe in chapter 1, with an overabundance of kindness. They're kind of like hobbits in a way, where they're good people. They don't want to fight. They're not greedy, blah, blah, blah. So they don't really use their magic to take over the world or to fight in wars and stuff like that, like most people would. So they kind of use it for, I don't know, nothing, basically. They just can't
work around the farm or something.
Yeah. They use it for like useful, like normal things, I suppose. Like he turns himself into a horse to take them around, and he guards them as a mammoth and stuff like that. I mean, Gil's kind of different. He's part of the Brotherhood, so he does fight. But most Drellids, they're typically pretty peaceful, just kind of stay to themselves.
So did Gil have to have seen a mammoth at some point to be able to turn into it? Or touch it?
I did get asked that question. I haven't decided yet if I want that to be the case. But there are mammoths in this world that do exist. But I haven't decided if I actually want him to have actually seen one or just have seen it in a book so he knows it exists so he can turn into it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was kind of my question.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he would have to, so he would know how they, act, right? Like seeing it on a picture, because he doesn't have a TV, so, he would have to see it to know how it walks and moves and what it does.
Maybe what you could do is every Drellid is given a picture book of animals when they're younger.
And the scholars just go around telling them that this one roars and this one uses its trunk.
Exactly. The cow goes moo.
Nice.
That's funny.
Just, take from real life. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. Use your imagination. when it comes to that because I never really explain it. Some things are left open ended because I don't know the answers. I didn't like thinking about them. So,
Well, I'm going to try and drill you on some of that stuff then to get an answer. It kind of worked that time.
I did get asked that question in an interview not too long ago, and I was just like, see, here I'm fine with telling y'all that. I'm just too lazy to figure it out. But there, it was kind of more serious. So I was like, just read and find out. Because I might find out and tell you later.
So you have a comment in here, HC, about how you made an oopsie.
Oh, yeah, let me see.
Yeah.
Where?
So that's crazy to me. That's like reading it, I'm like, I don't know what COD is. I just think Call of Duty. But
where is it? Because I want to make sure I read the. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. So, yeah, I did make a mistake because COD is creatures of darkness.
gotcha.
I'm not sure if those have really been explained yet.
No.
They will be. Okay. So there are like monstery type things in this world, and they're called creatures of darkness. And Drellids cannot turn into those. They can turn into like normal animals that live and breathe on the planet that are meant to be there. Well, the Dren were supposed to be, and were originally creatures of darkness, right? And like I said, they're just like monsters, basically what they are. But then I had Gil turn into one in that chapter 4 or something, which means that they can't be creatures of darkness anymore. They have to be real because he can't turn into creatures of darkness. But so then I tried to change it to where they're native to Vleland. But then when they ran into the cave, the Dren turned into ash. I don't know if you remember when they were chasing Gil and all them. Gil transformed back into himself.
I remember that.
Because he was a horse. And whenever the Dren jumped through, it just turned to ash because, and I guess it's never explained, so it's not really an oopsie, but it kind of is. Because that was like a ward to ward off like dark energy or creatures of darkness or things like that. Like that's why Gil turned back into himself because, you know, you can't have anything like magical like that. That shouldn't have happened because they're just normal animals. So
Maybe you could take the stance that Gil has mastered transforming into creatures of darkness, and that is what supersedes him as far as the way he goes about things. It's like he finally figured it out. He's not going to share this information because that leads to the path of the dark side or something.
With Veda.
Yeah.
Did somebody catch that in like editing or something, or did you just catch it yourself?
No, I was caught it myself. Just like
okay.
Recently.
Okay, because I was wondering if you got called out on it or something. Because I wonder if anybody else would have thought of that or not.
I mean, I don't really think anybody will, so I really need to stop telling people because like you don't really know what a creature of darkness even is, so that wouldn't even enter your head. And then whenever it just like fades away, you're just like, oh, I guess something's warding those animals off, so whatever. But that's not how it happened in my head. I can make that canon though.
All this podcast is for you is like a limited edition of your book.
Basically.
Like the insider scoop.
Yeah, you get all the dirty details. And then last episode when I was literally convincing people not to read the book at all.
So I don't ever expect this to ever happen, but it would be fucking hilarious. You know how, like, for example, anytime a show features a series or does a series like Game of Thrones or Wheel of Time, they always stamp like the HBO or Amazon logo on the front of the cover. Can you stamp our logo on yours and like featured in T&J's Epic Podcast?
That's pretty big ask there, Justin.
Oh, I'm not serious at all. Please, for the love of God, do not do that. But it would just be really fucking funny.
That would be funny. It's like that quote that I put. Somebody left a review on Goodreads of my book, and all it said was "meh" with 3 dots. And I think it's so funny, so I put that on the cover quote, and I like share it on social media and stuff because I think it's so funny.
Oh, that's funny. Meh.
Like, what a
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's just meh. I was like, okay. What's the point of leaving that review? I don't know. I think it's funny though. It brightens my day.
Well, the other thought that I had was Gil has this comment. It was like he asked who the stranger was, and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't Gil give this dude, this random stranger, a ride to this house? So I'm like thinking about that more deeply, and can Gil not recollect things that happened while he's in bestial forms?
Yes, because if he couldn't, then he wouldn't have been able to scout out in chapter 2 or 3 the cave and then come back and save them and bring them back to the cave and know where he was. But also, it was really just a way for him to kind of shift the focus back to the elf, because Near did talk to him and she saved him and she spent time alone with him for a second. So he's like, who is this? Like, why did you save him? What is he doing here? Sort of.
Gotcha.
But
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for whatever reason, when I was reading it, I obviously didn't think that deeply. It just the way that it was worded shocked me. Or surprised.
yeah, no, I could see that. I have a little laugh reaction. I was like, oh my God, that's funny. Because I could definitely see how you would think that. He's like, what? Who's that?
Yeah. So
Well, I could see, they're, scrap, right? I guess it's not like a battle, but I mean, he was kind of, I would feel like he was preoccupied watching, ahead of him for these dogs and stuff. So maybe he didn't get a good look at him before.
Yeah, it was really just more, just like, who is this? Why is he here? Who is this? Because you don't usually pick up bloody, angry elves on the side of the road. So he's like, what's he doing?
fair enough.
It's just like that, what was it, a Bud Light commercial? Can't pick up a hitchhiker. What if he's got an axe? Can't pick up a hitchhiking elf. He's got swords.
Right, he did have swords too.
Duel
2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
with veins all over him.
Mm-hmm. Draft swords.
The other
Yes.
thing that I thought was really cool was the Travaran. It was described as molten lava flowing through your veins, and I was just like, "Yikes! That does not sound pleasant at all."
No, apparently, according to Near, it's even worse than that. So, Mystery Elf Boy's gotta be pretty friggin' tough to not even pass out from that or scream. He just kind of stood there.
Fair. Is there an origin to this molten lava paste? Is it just
I do not explain any of the potions. They're just potions. I don't care to know how penicillin is made. I don't care to know how Peloton is made. So I don't ever explain those things.
But I guess that no fair, absolute fair points. What I guess is there any type of reasoning behind the intensity of the
No,
pain? That okay, all right.
no, it's just a really, really powerful ointment. That's why she didn't use it on the smaller stuff. She used it on the big gashes on his side because it heals it almost instantly. So it's like it's literally fusing all of your tissues together, all your muscles. It's fusing it all together within like seconds. So it hurts.
Fair enough.
What if his like intestines were hanging out? Would it just like snip them off,
No.
stuff them back in quick?
just throw some Metagel on there and you're good to go.
Sorry, Justin, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just thought of that.
It was a nice addition. A nice addition.
It wasn't.
Just put it on, your arm will regrow.
Hey, sky's the limit.
But no, it's just meant to be like really, really strong medicine, like I said. And it's literally, he's not numb or anything. And his body is like reforming itself and patching itself up like very rapidly. So it's really painful.
Fair enough. My next point, and I know you responded to this, but we'll have a formal discussion about this. Near has a conversation with herself, kind of admiration for this handsome elf, and he or she admires his dashing good looks. And I was just like, HC, you hinting at something here? Like maybe a future romance with this mystery elf?
Maybe. Didn't she say he looks like her dad?
Kind of, yeah.
Why wasn't it her stepdad?
It's her adoptive dad, but like that comparison is just kind of meant to be the kind of. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Sorry.
I said you're writing a porno, so great. I mean, we're just getting
People
a
have
little bit more of
asked
that
me for
each
a smut
chapter.
version of this book. They have actually asked me for a romance smutty version of my book.
Oh.
People absolutely go insane for the love interest, including me. But I mean, read and find out. Whenever she meets the next character, she also describes the way he looks. So, but she also does talk about Lork and the way he looks. So she's just got it out for everybody.
She's just a manonizer, huh?
Yep, everybody's fair game. They're all love interests.
Hey,
Potential, anyways, right?
That's right.
you go, girl. Let's go get it.
Although she definitely did friend zone Lork pretty hardcore in this chapter.
I make a mention of that, and we'll get to it.
She's like, yeah, he is handsome. He is so handsome. He's like, what you thinking about? She's like, I'm not telling him he's handsome. Nope. Nothing important. Not talking about you. Nothing about you.
Nah, shifty eye dog. Yep.
No, I'll put it out there because it's really not a spoiler. I want you to have like the full experience. Her and Lorik's relationship is completely, is it platonic? There's just completely a friendship relationship. They'll flirt or they'll just kind of be like banter back and forth, but there's no romance between them.
That's fair. I mean, it's great because it adds, a very human element to these characters. It makes them more relatable, which I think is absolutely amazing. So, we've all had those experiences where, we have friends that we don't want to fuck up the friendship because we got romantic or whatever the case is, and it's strictly platonic, but there is that like level of flirtation and tease. So
Yeah, I mean, he looks good. She looks good. They can flirt.
right,
They gotta bang each other though. So
right. Until
they can.
one very drunk night.
long ago.
Right. Yes.
But no, they're just friends. They're like brother, sister, sort of, just best friends.
Sure. The next point that I had was Elec Galea. I fucking said that wrong again. I thought it was cool that in Elvish it means the eyes of another, and it's a saying that requests trust and friendship in the form of like mercy or understanding. I mean, I like that you had that as like a little footnote, because it makes the reader go back and like truly understand what it is that she's saying, and it's not just like broken Elvish. It's like a legit thing, and it helps the reader understand what it is that Nier is asking of Mystery Elf.
Mystery elf.
Yeah. He's not Elf on the Shelf, though, right?
Oh,
Maybe.
that's
We're
good.
gonna find out.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
He's Elf on the Floor.
Up on the floor. Yeah. I was gonna. Have I explained anything about Ryman? What do y'all know about him, or assume?
I think all we know is that he's Nier's adoptive stepfather or adoptive father, and that he is the high priest of the Order of Sorrow.
What?
No, Bob.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. I'm thinking of Bynum.
You
Yeah.
may as well just call him the
Bynum.
Grand Wizard of the KKK, Justin Jesus.
You know what? There's a dyslexic moment between Ryman and Bayman. Leave me alone.
You just said that her dad is the high priest that's trying to kill her.
I thought it was an interesting story. Like, right? Like, she's compelled. This whole time, I had it fucked up in my head this whole time. But anyway, I'm just going to go with it. I'll correct myself. But in my head, I'm just like, ooh, this is a good sabotage story. Because she is totally like defiling whatever it is that her adoptive father is trying to teach her, and thus making him super angry and looking for, I don't know. It lined up in my head.
Yeah, but no, that's just funny. Just, yeah, I'm on book 3, so I know Ryman, and that's just very funny. That's a very funny thought for me. Catch up, and then you'll understand.
Oh, well, I will once you get it out.
You gotta read book 2 first.
I'll get there before you get yours out.
Probably. You're on your chapter 8 of book 1. You will probably catch up before I get finished.
It's all good. Okay, well, cool. Well, thank you for that enlightening correction.
Thank you for the enlightening mistake.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
There'll be more, I'm sure, from both of us.
Yeah. Going back we're swinging back to the conversation about Lorik and Nier and their platonicness. I find it interesting that Nier doesn't admit to him what her thoughts are. And does Nier feel like there is a missed connection here? Friend zone, perhaps, but we already kind of touched on that. So, was it intentional, or is it just kind of like a natural thing?
With her not telling him what she was thinking?
No, about her friend zoning him. Like,
Oh, I mean, no, you find out throughout the book.
Okay, gotcha.
You'll find out. All that comes to light as you read.
Cool. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I missed this part. But when Nier tells the elf, thank you, or you're welcome, I'm correct in picking up some contempt there, right?
It would seem so.
Like, she's frustrated that not really getting any words out of him, even though she's bending over backwards to help this dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it seems. And she's just telling him to coexist. She's telling him to trust her. She saved his life, and he's just glaring at her the whole time. Mm-hmm. She's like, dude, the least you could say is thank you.
And while he's glaring at her, she's admiring his stunning good looks.
I mean, hey, he looks good. He looks good.
Even when he's glaring at you?
Makes it better. You know what the smoldering eyes look like? Come on.
Justin, if you see a piece of art you like, you just stare at it, right? It's the same thing.
It doesn't matter if the art wants to kill you or not.
Just think of Giger, Justin. Like, that's all you got to do.
I mean, all she did was just notice that he was handsome. She didn't go into like any details.
That you're telling us.
I mean, I'm telling you, I wrote the book. I did not tell you that she went into more detail. Come on.
Fair. Okay. I don't believe it, but okay. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the best part in this chapter.
The P and V?
The P and the V. The sword.
What?
Oh, do you gotta go? What?
What?
What are you doing?
I did the drum roll. I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Oh, while you were drum rolling, I unveiled it.
I know you did it while I was doing the drum roll. We effed that up so bad.
Pat didn't know you were doing a drum roll.
I said I'm going to do a drum roll. We've been quiet for too long. I had to fill the time. Okay. What is the best part of the chapter?
The sword and the sheath.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. But on a serious note, apparently it caught fire 11 years ago. And while the culprit was never found, it has since been rebuilt. However, it does not still kind of hold the same values it did pre-fire, from what I understood from your little footnote. But I'm curious if Nier has something to do with this fire.
Yes, that's very peculiar.
I'm sorry. Is that where you drum rolling again? Take the sword out of your mouth. What are you trying to say?
Oh boy, just wow.
I'm not saying nothing.
You're not gonna. Okay, I'm not gonna get an answer to that.
If I wanted you to have the answer, I would put it in the book.
You're funny. Well,
I will tell you that I am planning to do a prequel. I think I told you guys this last time.
Yes.
And it leads right into the beginning of book 1 is the plan. And it will have her at the sword and sheath. So we may find out what happened to it. I don't have all like the details of what I want to add into the book. I know what happened to it. So since I put it in the footnote, I will probably link those together by like showing or telling you what happened to it. So you should find out in a couple of years. When I get the prequel written.
That's fair.
Please don't pull a Ridley Scott with that.
Oh, a what?
Ridley Scott with his prequels, because the prequel, for like the Alien movies, he made Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, and then the next one was supposed to lead up to like basically the beginning of the original Alien movie, and that didn't happen. So don't do that, please.
I have 3 novellas planned. Well, one of them's out, The Banished. And then I have a prequel for Ayla, who is introduced in book 2. And then I have a prequel for Nier. And that's all that I have. So you'll kind of see. Because, I mean, I start the books kind of in the middle of their journeys. So I give you the prequel to show you what they did before you're introduced to them a little bit. Just kind of fill in those gaps and stuff.
That's cool. I like that. So when Lorik and Nier are kind of talking near the end here, kind of before uh, near before they essentially what I would imagine go to sleep. He tells her that he knows what this is all about. Nier tells him that she doesn't know what he's talking about. And is this pertaining to the trials or is this pertaining to something else? Potentially to the whole reason she's cursed in the first place. Which, if I
It's got a
recall,
bigger reason.
huh?
It has a bigger reason than
Okay.
just the trials.
Okay, so none of those things that I brought up.
Um,
Is it kind of like delving into the origin as to why she was cursed?
kind of. I mean, you do find out sort of. It's basically her motivations, I guess, and her end goal, like what she wants to do and why she's doing it, sort of thing, is what she's saying.
I'm assuming it has something to do with the mark on her arm and the Order of Sorrow.
Probably. That's how we find out.
Okay, all right.
Everybody always asks for spoilers, and they're only 8 chapters in. Like,
I'm not
calm
asking
down.
for a spoiler. I'm just picking out things that I find are interesting. Please don't tell me, but you not saying anything also kind of reaffirms it for me. But there's no details. I'm just saying. Just
That's
saying.
how you read and find out. You have no
That's
idea.
what I'm gonna do.
You asked me the question like this, though.
I did.
That was a pretty
So-
good impersonation there. I wish everybody could see that because that was like dead on.
He's giving me the crazy eye. Like, tell me now. Even though I said read and find out, and he's like,
But
yeah.
But-
I'm not goading for the answer.
okay, fine. All right. I will admit my body language was a bit harsh. But
It's okay. I'm still can't
Honestly-
sway me.
Take it down a notch, Justin. Down, boy.
I'm just saying, I thought it was interesting. I think there's more there. And you not saying anything tells me that there's more there. I will read and find out, of course.
I mean, there's a lot of things because I wanted there to be a lot of foreshadowing, and I wanted there to be a lot of room for theories and a lot of room for questions, because everything gets figured out and it gets answered as you read and as you experience it with Nier. It's not just like in a big info dump.
Sure.
So there's going to be a lot of those interesting, like, I mean, you've mentioned quite a few of them in this chapter alone. So there's a lot of different things that may or may not be explained in this book. Some things are going to be explained in book 5, 6. So it'll all come together.
I'm just trying to come up with conversation topics that I think are interesting and cool.
I like it.
I think the last thing that I had was with the whole crash at the end that shook the sidewall. I mean, I'm assuming this was just a bunch of dogs just dumbassly running up and hitting the wall from the outside, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And, they're not like normal dogs. They're really creepy, leathery. So, they might not have brains. Who knows?
Right. Very bony stuff. Yeah. In the previous chapter, they fell to ash, right? Is that just a thing with the creatures of the darkness?
Yeah, and that gets explained throughout the book. I didn't realize that I didn't explain what those are. And I mean, I guess I probably did that on purpose because it does get explained. So you're just kind of like figuring out with the characters what's going on because they don't know what's going on.
Sure.
They're just like, these dogs are really weird and they're creepy and they're turning to ash. But as you get through the story.
Did the Dren do the same thing? I don't remember.
See, I was just thinking that. They probably do.
Did they turn to ash when she killed him?
No.
I know they did.
I remember
But I may
that.
have changed it. I have no idea anymore. I don't even know. Everybody just ignore the Dren. They're their own entity.
Gotcha.
Okay. I was like, shit. Well, you were just talking about that a little while ago, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together till like right now.
Yeah.
But that might not be the case. I still might have come up with 5 instead of 4.
No, I definitely thought of that, but I wasn't going to say it out loud. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, she's pulling a Nier here. Anyway, the last thing is, and I know that I've corrected myself in my head by reading and summarizing, but when I was first reading this chapter and Lorik talks about how proud he is for stealing the satchel from the cave. And for whatever reason, it was in my head that he only stole a satchel from Keith. He just went through his pockets and found the gemstone that lit up when it was close to Nier. That's what I thought he had pulled out.
Yeah.
for the light source.
Yes.
Oh,
No. The
No?
stone that he had in the cabin was not the same one that is chasing after Nier. It's the different one. But I can
Not
see
the
how you're
tracking
confused
stone.
about that. I mean, it could be the same one. I don't explain it. It's just a glowing stone. But it glows when she uses her magic. She doesn't use her magic, so I guess it's a different stone.
right. Well, I'm assuming it's a stone that lights up when you smash it on the floor,
Yes.
or like hit it on the floor.
Yeah, kind of like a glow stick almost.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was just like, for whatever reason, I didn't think that after the fact, but when I was first going through it, I'm like, is this supposed to be the gem that Keith used to track Nier? So I just thought
No, I
it
could definitely see how
been-
you would think that. But
and
no. And you said that he stole the satchel off of the mercenary?
that's what I thought too, is that he took a satchel. But
He did take a satchel, but he took the satchel from the caves. Because remember, he had the satchel, and they're like, "What is that?" And he's like, "I found it." And they're like, "Stop going through all that stuff." So then he goes and he gets a cauldron, and he comes back with like 3 different things, and Gil's like, "Stop stealing stuff."
yeah, no, that I remember, and that's what the satchel is from. But
Yes.
for whatever reason, I didn't pick up on that at first until I started going through the summary, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's this it's other
Yeah, I could definitely see why that would be confusing. But no, it's a different stone. The one that the mercenaries had. When she uses her magic, it'll glow, and then eventually it'll stop when her magic, kind of fizzles out and she's not using it anymore.
I thought
and then-
that it was a proximity thing. It glowed the closer they were to her.
It will glow. It will get brighter the closer they get to her. Like so, because magic is energy, so if she's not using it, then there's no energy around her to make it glow. But say that she's across the room over there, for example, and she's not using her energy, she's not using her magic, and I have the stone. It's not going to glow. When she starts to use it, it'll glow a little bit, and the closer I get to her, even after she's used it, because all the energy is still in the air, it'll still get brighter. So that's why she doesn't use her energy. So she doesn't use her magic because when she uses it, it kind of activates any of those stones that are anywhere around, and they can kind of figure out where she is because it'll glow brighter.
Gotcha. So did they chuck this stone, or do they still have it?
I don't think they have it. I mean,
Okay.
if they do, I don't. It's never mentioned again.
Gotcha. All right. Well, cool. Those were all the things that I had for chapter 7 here. So unless Derek or HC, if you have any final comments, thoughts about this chapter, I'm ready to move on if you all are.
That was a good discussion. Had a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Justin, would you like to take the mystery elf parts in this?
How's it
talking
supposed to
Elvish.
sound?
What's that?
Like rough and rugged?
Whatever you want to do, man. The world is your
never-
oyster.
Yeah, you can do whatever voice you want.
Sure, I'll be the mystery elf.
Yeah,
All
talking
right.
Elvish though. Put all the words in the comments.
Perfect. Don't fuck it up, Justin.
Right.
I'm
Say
not,
it
saying,
right.
I'm not saying those.
You almost got Elet Glea, so if you almost got that, you can do anything. That's a hard one.
All right. Chapter
I'm
8,
excited.
A Fateful Goodbye. For you are never truly alone if you have faith in the light. Rotharian, the Book of Light. Silence hung over the empty village as Nier slept next to Lork. However, her sleep was interrupted by stone scraping against the wooden floor. She awoke with a yawn, then turning her attention to the sound of the noise. The doors cracked open and she could see the silhouette of the elf as he pushed against the heavy stone dresser. She watched him for a moment before turning to Lork, who was supposed to be keeping watch after she fell asleep. His snoring was loud enough to cover the sound of the elf escaping. Frustrated, Nier shook her head. He had finally moved the dresser enough to squeeze out of the small opening in the door. Nier panicked and ran to him, pulling him back into the room.
Wait,
He pushed her against the wall and put a dagger to her throat.
what are you doing? Who are you? Did you do this to the village?
She knew he didn't understand her as his arms held her in place with the dagger still at her neck. He spoke to her, too quickly for her to understand. She spoke back, slowly, in Elvish, as she struggled with the words.
Sita. Rolo.
His eyes tightened, and with a growl.
Ardea, Idakardea.
Though his glare would have scared off the hardiest of men, Nier felt oddly at ease. For whatever reason, she was not afraid. She thought maybe it was because he resembled her adoptive father, Ryman, or maybe it was that he could very easily kill her, and he simply hadn't yet. She looked into his eye.
Nue, Frina, Hortavi.
She held his gaze, waiting for a response. He leaned in, and Nir's confidence fell. The blade nicked her neck, and she could feel the blood trickle.
This
This is coming to me. Maybe I'll just read those in regular Old English. Swords or death. She thought that she could use her magic to escape, but that would put her friends in danger, as the Order had likely lost her trail by now, and she didn't want to tip them off now. Reluctantly, she agreed to give his weapons back. He stepped aside and let her retrieve the weapons near Lork's loot. She admired their beauty, and they were unlike any she had seen before. She offered them back to the elf. He looked the swords over before handing Nir back her dagger. She hadn't even realized her own weapon had been turned on her. She wasn't sure if she should be impressed or frightened at that act. As he stepped to the door, her heart sank. She grabbed his arm again. He turned and gave her an angry look.
Stay.
She was confused as to why she said this, though looking into his eyes, she could see a familiar sight. One that reminded her of Ryman. The elf before her wasn't like the other ones in stories, killing humans without remorse. He was different, and she could feel it.
Iglea, Frina.
Trust. Friend. He turned away with a hard look before coming back around to meet her eyes. He pulled away from the grasp. I think that was the wrong one, Justin.
You said what I just said. You sound like a demon.
There's all of them stacked on top of each other. Okay, all
I
right.
swear to God, if this guy just put a knife to my throat and he talked to me like this, I would crap myself. Like, oh my God. And Nir is just like googly eyed over here.
Justin, you cannot edit that out. That's too good. That was really good.
Right.
Trust no one. The words stung as she watched him disappear through the village. Later that morning, she waited outside for her friends to wake. She was looking in the direction the elf had went. She had wondered if she made the right choice in letting him leave, or if he could have been a part of the order that had raised the village. She immediately scoffed at the thought of the Order of Sorrow working with an elf, since the Order was the reason for such hatred between the races anyways. The Great War was centuries ago, but the Order wouldn't let their people forget about the genocide at the hands of the, quote, monster race. Anyone not born of pure human blood was considered demonic and should be purged. The worst of the worst were sorcerers. Even if they were full-blood human, the Order still demanded their immediate death. Lork made his way over, and she ruffled his bedhead as he lazily moved her hand away. So, you just let him go, did you?
Better to do that than leave him alone while we slept.
Nothing you couldn't have handled. I figured you'd go easy on him. Always been your way. Look strong, but weak as a noodle.
Still stronger than you.
A bit cocky there, aren't you?
Cockier than you.
You jesting about my cock now?
It's the little things.
He smiled and laughed and playfully pushed her aside. Gil broke in.
You spriggets ready? We should be moving along.
Goblin Gil, yay! He
Oh,
transformed into a
Goblin.
stallion. Oh, do it again
Goblin.
as Goblin Gil. Do it, Goblin Gil. Come on. This
You
is your last
spriggets
chance.
ready? We should be moving along.
You kind of sound like the elf.
Yeah.
One's a goblin, one's a demon.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like stallion, mammoth, same thing. He transformed into a stallion, and they rode for the border of Lynn, where he planned to return to Porsdur. Nir wanted to see Gil off at the border, and she'd always intended to make it there, as the entrance for the trials was along the border of Lynn and Vleland. Why isn't Gil coming with us? We'd get there much faster if he'd run us around on horseback.
Gil only came to help us get the Arun. He's got other things to do besides run around Vleland with us.
Gil gave a snort as a sign of agreement, and the conversation ended. It wasn't unusual for Nir to travel alone, or with Lork as her only companion. Since she had been a part of Bob, she had traveled around the land without the help of more seasoned warriors, though she did wish that he could have joined her on her epic quest, she understood the path took him elsewhere. The sun was setting beyond the horizon as they approached the Everglades that bordered Lynn and Vleland. Leafless trees rose up from the deep murky waters. Near and Lorik hopped off Gil, and he turned back into himself. Wood creaked and groaned under their feet as they stepped onto a crooked bridge. Lorik had the heebie-jeebies as alligators and snakes swam below. Gil stopped as he watched the other two.
This is it then.
Sadness washed through her as she was afraid for him, though she knew he was more than capable on his own. If the Order knew she was here, they'd be at the other end of this bridge. Gil would transform into a bird and fly home, but if the Order was watching, they'd take down every animal that crossed their path if it brought them one step closer to Nier.
It's all right, child. We'll see each other again. Don't go getting yourself into trouble. Only use your magic when absolutely necessary. And for the love of all things, start using that head of yours. Think before you react. And you, stop jamming that jaw of yours and actually put your mind in those scrawny pricks you call arms to work. If she winds up dead because of your foolishness, I'll cut off your nuggets and shove them up your whiny little ass.
Lorik looked on with fear and managed to gulp and nod his head. Even at half Lorik's size, he'd be able to handle himself, and Lorik knew he never made an empty threat.
Take care of each other, all right? I'll let Ryman know where you've gone. Make sure you come back home, the both of you.
Nier gave Gil a hug. He was the second person she had met in Bob after Lorik, and she thought of him as a father figure more than a friend. Even Lorik and Gil shared a quick hug, and with that, he turned into a falcon and flew towards home. The two remaining friends took off into the dangerous and forbidden land. They walked east towards the entrance of the trials. They were close enough to smell the marsh, but far enough they were not in danger from any of the local wildlife. Can't believe we're actually going back. Seems odd, don't you think? We were so close to home, I could smell it. Feels like we're marching to our deaths.
Don't count us out yet. We've only just begun.
She looked out across the countryside. It was all the same in this country. No roads, no villages or trees. A broken home here and there, but few and far between. So, what are we off to again?
We need to get to the entrance of the Trials of Blood, where I can use the magic within the cave of Namashel to dispel the mark guarding the room. According to the map, the cave entrance is a few days from here.
Another cave, huh?
This one is far more dangerous.
Of course it is. Why do you think the Order were here in Vleland anyhow? Seems a bit odd they'd destroy some village, then be on their way.
They know I'm here, so I'm guessing they're coming in quiet to send a warning.
If the elves going out, they're killing off innocents, it'd start a war. I think the Order like a new war. It'll give them a reason to kill a bunch of palefaces. Nier was irritated at his remark, but held her breath as it wasn't worth the squabble. She would need to save her energy for the real fight ahead. The day faded to night, and rain steadily fell from the sky. She bundled herself in her cloak, wishing for warmth and somewhere dry to rest. Since they had been back in the wetlands, they hadn't seen anything that would pass for a structure to stay inside. Lorik wasn't prepared for this kind of journey, and she wondered if it was a mistake in letting him join. His breath was white, and he leaned forward, hands on his knees. I just need a minute to rest.
Come on, Lorik. We need to stay together.
Just a minute. Frustrated, she drug him along as she searched in the fog ahead. She was able to see some sort of shack in the distance. The prospect of shelter gave them a burst of energy, and they moved quicker. As they approached, it was a half-fallen wooden home covered with moss.
Wait here.
Nier went to the door with her dagger out of its sheath. Peeking inside, the hinges on the door groaned as they opened. To the right, there was an empty room covered with a leaky roof. Charred logs rested on the wooden floor, and a boarded window kept the small room dark and musty. She got Lorik inside and latched the door shut. These logs, they're dry.
What? It's still warm.
Someone was here. The blood left both their faces, and with her dagger, she surveyed their surroundings. There was nowhere to hide in the shack.
Maybe they were passing through. It could have been the elf we saved.
Yeah, of course. It must have been him. The Nix don't use fires to keep warm.
Right. Come on. We'll freeze if we don't start a fire.
But it'll draw him to us.
We have no choice, Lorik. If this is all that it takes to frighten you, then you should have gone with Gil.
Disgruntled, he crossed his arms. She knew he wanted to argue, but was surprised that he didn't. She started a small fire, and they combined their dinner of berries and nuts. The fire took some of the chill away. Near rested her head on Lork's shoulder and looked into the fire. Her thoughts drifted from one thing to another, and she was filled with dread, wondering where this journey would take them and if they would ever see home again.
The end.
That's it.
For
That was
Gil,
Curse of the
for
Fallen.
now.
Yay!
We're done.
That was the best 8-chapter book I've ever read. I didn't write it.
It was terrible. No ending.
We got an ending. They lived happily ever after.
Wondering if they'll ever see their home again. The end.
Yep.
It's a good place to leave off.
In Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I didn't hate that ending.
All right, we're not gonna get it. Let's just keep going.
We don't need to get sidetracked with that.
Yeah, don't get me started now.
You chose the word Rolo for one of the Elvish words. Was that a shot at Justin?
Well, I literally just made up all these words today. So I was just like, first words that popped into my head, I was like, let's go with it. Yeah, Rolo.
We got an inside joke now. This is what you wanted. We have an inside joke.
No, I'm just Roloing my eyes at this.
No,
What does
Justin,
Rolo
that's
mean
not
in
as good.
Monkey?
It was words.
Words. So, if we agree with you, let's be like, Rolo.
Yeah.
Rolo to your mother.
I like it. See, how can you argue with that, Justin? You can't.
No, I can't. Why did this stem from me? Can we tell our viewers how this came about?
Yes. So there will be another character in the book. And
His name is Word? Is his name Word?
So Gil is departed from the group, and Justin here has no one to speak for when he does the dialogue. So I told him he could be the next character that is introduced. The next character that is introduced talks like Rolo from Vikings in my head. So that is where this Rolo joke is coming from, because he's going to be Rolo when he reenacts his character.
I've never seen that show, so
Neither have I, but that was the link that HC sent in the group chat.
Gotcha.
That you couldn't click on for whatever reason.
I thought it was for something else, so it's fine. All big one.
It would be. Well, you must have watched it because you said, like I thought you were more like the guy drumming.
Yeah, but I thought you posted a different video.
Yeah, he thought.
Oh, what the hell! Oh my god, this is so disjointed.
See, like
no, you're the one getting confused down there. No, you guys should definitely watch Vikings. The first 5 seasons are really good, and then you don't have to watch it. It's kind of like when Game of Thrones on us, and it got too popular, and they stopped caring. But the first 5 seasons are really good. Should definitely check it out. It's loosely based on actual history.
There was some show I was watching. I can't remember. It was, I don't know, this little kid watches his dad, he goes off to battle with his dad, and his dad gets killed by Vikings. And apparently it was a really big Netflix show.
The High Kingdom or something like that.
Or Norseman or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. Somebody out there probably knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there was
I think there was a movie called The Last Kingdom that was a follow-up or something.
The Last Kingdom, I thought that was from, it was like Braveheart, but with Edward the Longshanks or something like that.
God, I don't know how to search things.
Points of view. You've never seen Braveheart?
Oh yeah, I've seen Braveheart. It's just it's been about forever. I'm just trying to think of how I could search for the show, but I don't know how to describe it accurately enough to find a title. I should type.
So I guess Derek, while you're doing that, HC, as far as Gil is concerned, I guess this totally came out of the blue for me when he departs, and it could just be me not recollecting maybe some smaller things that he has done or said. But is there anything that has alluded to him departing, or that this part of the journey was just temporary in the beginning or in the chapters up until this point?
I don't know if I really alluded to that in chapter 1. I may have, but in the chapters when they found the mysterious elf They did say when they were riding on Gil's back that they are going to the border to drop both of them off because Near is going to continue on her own. Because it's really dangerous. So they were going to the border. So it is mentioned. It's probably pretty easy to forget because it's not something that they really talk about. And I don't like to put a bunch of exposition, as you can see. So I didn't draw out on it. But yeah, that was the plan, was for them to go to the border, drop off Gil and Lorik, and Near was going to continue on her own to the trials. But then Lorik convinced her to let him stay.
Interesting. I mean, I really like Gil, not necessarily because I voiced him or anything, but I'm a little sad to see him leave. But also, to add on top of that, have you given thought to maybe doing a very short novella about his journey home? And maybe some chance encounters or something that aligns up with something. I'm assuming we're not done with Gil. I mean, I would imagine that he's coming back in some way, shape, or form. It's just at this part of the story, he's probably down and out. So
yeah, so he does come back in the book, and I'll tell y'all, since we're going deep dive into all of the things that I did wrong. Gil was only in these first few chapters for the longest time. He never came back, and I really didn't have any plans to bring him back. But I wrote him so well, and people love him so much that they were they're exactly what you're asking right now. When he left, they're like, is he coming back? Why did he leave? He needs to come back. So I made chapters later in the book for the purpose of bringing him back.
Oh, when you were doing your revised version?
Yeah, before I published it, when people were actually reading it and they're like, is Gil leaving? He's my favorite. Where's Gil? Why is he leaving? I was like, I did not realize. It's the same thing with Yevon in book 2. You guys obviously don't know who that is. But he's just kind of the side character, just sort of he's not really part of the main core. He is, but he isn't. And people absolutely go crazy for him. I'm like, there's all these characters that I just kind of ride on the side that everybody just loves. But yeah, so Gil does come back, and Gil has a point of view in The Banished.
Okay.
So that book, The Banished, is about a character that you meet in this book, and it's also about Gil. So it's a dual point of view from both of their points of view.
And you would recommend, as the author, to read The Banished after Curse of the Fallen? Or
after the second book.
After the second one. Okay. All right.
So once you've read the second book, you can, and if say you're going back and you're doing a read through of the whole series, you can read The Banished after book 1 if you want to. It can kind of flow, but it gives a ton of spoilers for book 2. So you definitely want to make sure you read it after book 2 on your first read through.
Gotcha. Okay.
Noted.
That makes sense.
It does come after book 1. So it just has to be after book 1 on your second read through. But it does say it in the book, on the first, one of the first pages, it'll tell you this is to be read after the Forbidden Realms. So I try to make it easy, kind of keep everything in order.
Sure.
Got to keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot of books. It gets confusing. Trying to make it easy if I can.
The show, by the way, was The Last Kingdom.
Yeah, I sent you a quote or the thing from it. Hey. But I think The Last Kingdom. Okay, no, that's about the Vikings. One of them is a movie, and it's about the English side, I think, of Braveheart. It might be Edward the Longshanks' son or something. I don't know. Oh my god, I look at Braveheart movie. Braveheart is a movie.
You say Longshanks, and I just think of Lord of the Rings, where Sam and the rest of the crew break into Frodo's room at the end, I'll have you, Longshanks, talking to Aragorn, the first time they meet him.
Oh,
No?
yeah.
No?
I know what you're talking about.
Sure.
The movie's called Robert the Bruce, and it's about Robert the Bruce, not Edward the Longshanks.
All right. Well, let's get back on track with our English history lesson. I guess I didn't do a good job with that. I didn't have too many thoughts. I did like how our mystery guy got a hold of Nir's dagger and turned it on her, because that was pretty slick.
That was some good sleight of hand.
Mm-hmm. Freaking elves, man.
A shaved knuckle, Derek.
Yep. I was thinking about this as you were reading your chapter, Justin. Does Does Nier remind you a little bit of Felison? I might have talked about that before in one of the other episodes, but
He does, yeah, very similar, except a little bit on the opposite spectrum starting out here than Fellowson did.
yeah, she's not like, I mean, didn't have quite the same experience, but
But she did.
it seems similar.
Who?
What's that?
She did. Nier and Fellowson almost have identical origin stories here.
They're very similar for sure.
Not necessarily origin, but just the traumatic events.
Yeah, they're similar. Are you sure you didn't read Dead House Gates HD?
Never heard of it.
It is like interesting, like, because since we just finished that book, it's still pretty fresh. But like I'm reading this, I'm like, damn, like she reminds me a lot of Felson in some
How do you
ways.
spell that?
Felisin.
Oh dang, yeah, I was spelling that way wrong.
I think it's
Oh hey, look at her art.
pronounced Felisin.
Yeah, I've got it in my head though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Even though HC's gonna break our heads against a wall to get us to pronounce things right.
I just like making fun of y'all. I don't even know how to pronounce these words. I have to practice them before I get on here.
You mean just me. You like to make fun of me. Both of y'all gang up on me.
Next week it'll be Derek. So
You said you almost slipped. You slipped. You were gonna say Justin.
but I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
Nier for me, because I've never read Malazan. She reminds me a lot of Ciri from The Witcher 3, though. Never read the books, but The Witcher game. I love Ciri. I have a little woman crush on her. So my main character kind of is like her.
I never played any of the Witcher games, but
Oh, The Witcher 3.
or read the books. I watched like most of the first season of the show, but that's about it.
I've never played the first two games. They're a lot different than the show. So I don't know how accurate the show is to the books because I've never read the books. I tried, but it's not really my style because they just kind of like throw you into the story and don't really explain anything. So you kind of have to read it like 4 times to even really understand what's going on. And I'm not really into that because I don't like being confused. But apparently it's very, really good. A lot of people like it. But the game is amazing. Witcher 3 is really good.
I need to check that out. But anyway, getting back on track. I guess I'm assuming that this mystery elf here, the reason why he takes the stance of no trust, don't trust anyone ever, is probably from his experience as being an elf. From what I understand about some things that have been alluded to is that the elves and humans, right, are more or less feuding with each other.
Yeah. So
Instinctively, he's not going to trust Nier as much as she is begging him and pleading to like trust her. And she's unable to break that barrier, unfortunately.
yeah, well, and you can also see too, Nier's kind of different, and it's alluded to because of her adoptive father that she kind of has a soft spot for the elves because Lorik is also pretty standoffish and he uses racial slurs and stuff like that when he talks about them. So, I mean, even in chapter 8, he's like, the Order would love to slaughter some pale faces. So, it's really just kind of Nier that sort of in the middle. And all the humans kind of view the elves as monsters and they're vicious and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it would seem that from his experience with how the humans and the elves don't really like each other after the Great War, that, they're not very good. They're not on very good terms, these people.
And I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with the Order of Sorrow.
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
Let's find out. As far as we know, it's just from history, just the Great War, and there's just like a brewing hatred between them because of something that happened. I don't really remember what the footnote said, so I don't want to say too much.
Fair enough.
I don't even know if there was a footnote, was there?
I don't think so, because I know
No.
that was one of my next points coming up. But I guess in regards to Nier and wondering if she made the right choice in letting him go, I guess I feel like she did, because at least reading it, I felt like if she didn't, I feel like he probably would have just stuck her in the neck with her own knife. I think he would have killed
But
her.
it seems like there might be a reason that humans don't like the elves. He's just gonna kill her.
Well, I don't feel like it was, like an empty threat to get away. I felt like he was going to do whatever it took to get out, hell or high water. He's either leaving because she let him, or he's leaving because she's dead.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's how it seemed to me too.
Oh,
Veneer
okay.
is also like, she also kind of felt something different with this guy for some reason, and he kind of reminded her of her dad, so he didn't kill her, so she was like, well, maybe he's not as vicious as everybody says. I don't know, she's got the hots for the elves, I guess. I don't know. She's a rebel.
The Great War, though. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm just parroting. You're good.
Oh, all right. The Great War. This sounds interesting to me. It makes me think of like World War One. So I hope it's something we get more on, whether it be in this book or a different one. But like, I don't know, even like history stuff, like even if it's history of like a fictional book, like I want to learn about that stuff. I like that type of thing, I guess. So.
Yeah. You will learn more about it throughout the series. I do think I have a footnote in book 1 that kind of explains a bit more about what it is. But there is also a lot of history that I kind of am not going to dive into too deeply, because I like to leave things open-ended. I feel like a lot of the magic and all of the wonder and a lot of the mystery of stuff kind of fizzles out when you know every detail of everything and you know the truth of everything. So I kind of like to leave things open-ended sometimes. It also leaves room for me to, write more stuff that can kind of bring that stuff to light, if that makes sense. It'll answer your questions in a different way. But you do find out more about the Great War throughout the series.
I look forward to that. I didn't really have much else here. Reading the end of this chapter, I know last time we talked, you said the plot really kind of takes off, and I definitely get that sense just from how we left off with this chapter, with Near wondering where this path is going to take them, if they're ever going to get back home again, see home again. Presumably, are they ever going to see Gil again? Their other friends and family and all that stuff. So it feels like, things have been fast paced and it's been a lot of fun to read, but I don't get the sense that that's going to slow down anytime soon.
No, I don't think there is a slow moment in this book at all. So be prepared. But
that's fine.
Yep. So now, as far as we are in the book, we know that Near has been searching for the Arun, because the Arun can help her release this curse that was placed on her that allows the Order of Sorrow to track her, which means that anytime she uses her magic, she can be tracked, and we know that is through those stones. So she needs the Arun because the curse is too powerful, so they can't get rid of it on their own. But the Arun has an enchantment on it, that lost smoke monster thing. And so now she figured out that she can either go to the Triandal or to the Trials of Blood. So she decides to just skip going to Ryman, skip going to the Scholars. This is what she has to do. Now she's on her way to the Trials of Blood so she can dispel the Arun, use the magic inside, and dispel the curse.
Sounds easy. Should be done in like 20 minutes.
Yep. Gonna be.
I'll definitely be interested to move on to read these next2 chapters, which is crazy because we're breaching quarter of the way through already. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, Justin, I didn't have a ton here. I didn't know if you had any other thoughts, anything that caught your eye in this chapter that maybe we didn't talk about.
No, I feel like we touched on all of the points. I feel like for the most part, it was a very transitional section, kind of closing off and capping off the where they came from before, and saying goodbye to Gil and moving on to their next chapter, next phase of the journey, so to speak. And it felt natural. It I'm not like, oh my God, but what about this part? Oh my God, but like, what about that part? Like it makes sense where it's headed.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the dialogue in this, like reading it and then going back and getting to type it out and then read it out loud was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like reenacting the dialogue.
Yeah, it definitely was an anxiety for me when we first decided to do this, but I feel like I've come into my own a little bit. I'm sad that I don't get to continue practicing, but I'll get another character, I guess, to come up with a whole new set of ways to talk.
Yeah. Just listen to Vikings, do that weird English, messed up Scandinavian accent that we butcher in shows, and you'll be fine.
Okay, all right.
I have a friend from Scandinavia, and he's like, "You watch Vikings?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what my characters in my book sound like." And he was like, "Okay." He's like, "Y'all don't know what Scandinavian accents are like."
Well, we've talked to Jan, and he's from Norway, and
He says it's
I mean
good.
that's. Well, we didn't ask him about Vikings, but I don't know. I mean, he's reading your book with us, so I guess maybe he'll let us know what he
Yeah,
thinks of our terrible accents. Jan, how are we doing? I'm sure we're doing a horseshit job.
yeah,
But
you
just
gotta
tell us.
listen. You gotta listen to Vikings, the show Vikings. Listen to like Ragnar speeches or something. Let me know if that's actually what Scandinavian accents sound like. Because I was told that Americans butcher Scandinavian accents, but maybe my friend's just wrong.
Well, Jan, we're soliciting you for direct feedback now, so
You got homework now.
in a few weeks, we'll be expecting that.
A few weeks. I want it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh,
Well, Justin's got a couple. This will be like third one in the bank.
yes. I have to edit the last episode of Dead House Gates and get that published. And
That'll
then
be the very last episode of that, right?
yep. And then I will move on to The Curse of the Fallens, chapter 5 and 6. And then I will eventually get to this. I would probably say in about 3 weeks it'll get released. 3 weeks from this weekend.
All right, Jan, you got some time. You got 3 weeks.
He doesn't know it yet, but he's got some time.
From today. I want it tomorrow when this video comes out.
Again, Jan, it is August 2nd here today, so the clock is ticking.
That's right.
I hope he chuckles.
I think he will. I hope. I'm sorry, Jan. I'm sorry.
No, Jan sounds fun. He'll
Yes.
laugh.
He's a cool dude. But yeah, I guess we should probably wrap up this episode, eh?
Yeah, you look like you're fading over there.
I'm not sweating anymore in my closet, so what'd you say, Justin?
I said, this is Gilly signing off.
Oh, yeah. Well, fly away, little bird.
Little horse mammoth. Oh, Lord.
Oh, he's doing the dirty bird from the Atlanta Falcons from what, 1998?
Yep.
That's a painful year for us. That was a painful year.
Yes,
Painful
yes.
year. I was 5 years old.
God, Jesus, I feel so old. You were 5 in 98?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, you were like 11, right?
12.
12, yeah. Something like that.
Not that much older.
I'm ancient, HC.
I mean,
Justin's
Yeah, what was
birthday
it?
is like a month from tomorrow, right?
Yep.
hey. Oh. You're going to be like 63, 64, something like that.
He's got the AARP card in the mail.
I got my Medicare coming. Yes, I will be turning 67.
Don't look a day
You
over
look good. You look
68.
good for your age.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Anytime. All right. Cool. We should probably wrap it up. Wrap it up like a sheath and a sword and a sheath.
My husband came up with that. He is the creative genius on that name. I'm not.
And you didn't credit him in your book? Not even in a footnote?
Nope.
Maybe I did in the collectors. Maybe I don't know for sure. I tell
For
everybody.
shame.
So I credit him verbally
Well, there you
because I
go.
wanted something creative and clever, and I'm not super creative or clever. Okay, I'm not super clever. I'm pretty creative.
Let's say you're pretty creative. You wrote a whole freaking book while you got 3 now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just before we leave, the reason that I decided to get rid of Gil so early in the book is because he is very hard to write dialogue for. Very hard. So I was like, look, I love this character, but he's got to go. I can't keep writing his dialogue throughout this whole book. Like, there's no way. Coming up with all those dumb little analogies. It's not easy.
I bet not.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a internet page of dumb analogies that you could reference.
Oh, I've researched. I
Oh,
tried.
really?
Yeah, I did because I'm not very clever. So I did try to find like different analogies and funny things and puns and then there's another character who is way smarter than I am, and he speaks way smarter than I do, and oh God, his dialogue was so hard. I'm like, how do I write a character that is smarter than me, that sounds smarter than me, using words and phrases that I don't know? Like I do a lot of research into his dialogue because he needs like you need to feel like his power. You need to feel like you just need to hear how articulate he is. You know what I'm trying to say? I can't even say it because I'm not smart enough.
Do we meet this character in this book? Oh, damn. Well, we'll get there eventually.
Well,
Maybe book 5.
if you need dumb analogies and you need some assistance with coming up with whatever for Gil's characters, just let me know.
I will definitely let you know.
I feel connected to.
I will definitely let you know. Like him being like, my wife's chamber pot or your nuggets, I'll shove them up your whiny little arse and stuff like all that stuff. That's not natural for me. So like, it was hard to come up with that. It took me a long time to do his dialogue.
Well, it sounded good. I mean, I didn't think it sounded like out of place or anything.
No, yeah, it felt natural to Gil's character. So I think you did.
Thank you. A lot of it came natural, but some of like the funnier stuff, especially about his wife, that was not easy. I hate having to come up with analogies for his wife. But it's fun. It's worth it.
The neighborhood bicycle, everybody gets a ride.
What? Oh, everybody gets a ride? I didn't know what you said.
The neighborhood bicycle, everybody gets a ride.
So far.
According to me, exactly. That's how her life is going. She just, even the sword, she's like, oh, gorgeous. Everything she looks at is just beautiful.
You got a very warped outlook on the world, apparently.
The sword, and she got a little confused about that one.
Yeah, she did, clearly.
She's looking at the freaking swords.
All right, well, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yes, bye.
We're clearly at that point where, like, what can we talk about now? Let's go back to wieners and vaginas.
Every conversation always just seems to revolve around that. It always winds up going back to that.
Yeah,
I don't know who you talk to.
that's fair. That's a true statement. But cool. Well, thank you, HC, for joining us for your 3rd episode. We appreciate it. 4th episode.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
No, this
is episode 4, but you came on number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I did
2, 3, and 4. Yeah.
I was about ready to doubt myself.
No. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I was wrong.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I didn't hear you. What?
I just said you won't hear that again. I got that out as quick as I could.
Okay, Near. Wow. Okay, well, good evening to you, HC. Good evening to you, Derek.
Good night, guys. HC, thanks again for donating your time to us here. It was a lot of fun as always. Appreciate it.
Very, very fun. Hope everybody enjoys listening to all of the things all the nonsense that we just blather on about. It's a good time. I have fun.
This is what we do.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night and have a good rest of your week and weekend.
Yes, you do the same.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.